This is Coach O, Coach Jesse, whichever way you want to call me. We have a special treat for you guys today. We have a very diverse group of panelists that's going to come in, talk to you guys about your careers, options, the perils that go along with it, and the paths of it. And as you see, we got Miss Tiara here, Miss Royal, Coach Edges, and then we just gonna let everybody introduce themselves and get started. Let's go ahead and start with Mr. Smith. Go ahead and introduce yourself for us, please.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Jonathan Smith, and my day job, my full-time day job, I'm the Vice President for Diversity and Community Engagement at St. Louis University here in St. Louis. And I'm a faculty member. I teach African American Studies at St. Louis University, and I've been there 18 years now. Is that enough, or do you want me to keep talking now? Just do the intro, Jesse?
Yeah, that's a good intro. We'll keep moving. Ms. Booker, can you go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Sure. I'm Gloria Booker, and I work with St. Louis Community College, and I work with the Workforce Solutions Group, and I'm a senior project associate, and I'm also a career pathways coach. Is that enough?
All right. That's good. Mr. Davis, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes. All right. Hi, my name is Chris Davis. I am currently in the New York area as I am the marketing coordinator at Def Jam Recordings, where I work day in and day out with artists such as Tiana Taylor, Dave East, Bobby Sessions, DMX, LL Cool J, Jeezy, so on and so forth. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. And then Mr. Odom. Still on mute, Pat.
All right. Okay. No, what I was saying was, how do I go after that? You know. So I'm Pat Odom. Yes, I am the cousin of Coach O, Coach Jesse. Proud of you, little cuz. I recently retired. 21 years United States Air Force. I retired as a E8, a first sergeant. So I definitely can speak to that side. Right now, I am finishing up an associate's program to be an early childhood education director here in Fairfield, California. And I also have I'm the president of Diamond Leadership Solutions. I started my own business. So life is good.
All right. Did we lose Miss Smith?
Yeah, she said her connection was a little bit wonky, so she'll hop back on.
Yeah, I added her back in, so I think her Zoom is trying to join back now, so she should be here.
Well, there she is. That's her husband, so.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Wow, that works.
All right, that works.
I like it.
Right. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Mrs. Smith?
Hi, everybody. My tech issues have now been solved. We're on the same screen. I'm Rochelle Smith. Lived in St. Louis with my husband, Jonathan, and our children more than 30 years. I work at Yale University as the Associate Chief Diversity Officer and Associate Dean for Diversity at Yale School of Medicine. And Tiara is basically our child, and she's wonderful.
Yeah, those are my other parents.
That's good. That's good. So as you all see, like I said, we have a very diverse panel. We got educators, military, music industry, entrepreneurs. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with the questions, and then whoever would like to answer the question first, we'll just go ahead and go from there and piggyback off one another, okay? So the first question that we came up with as a panel is, what is your educational post-secondary background? Meaning, what did you do after high school, after you graduated high school?
I'll start it off. Immediately following high school, I enrolled into St. Louis Community College and shortly thereafter, I did not meet the grades. I had a conversation with my mother, and from there, I decided that I was going to join the military. That was one of the best decisions I've ever made. In the military, I received an associate's in criminal justice, human resources, my undergraduate in adult education. I'm pursuing my master's in organizational leadership management. And again, as I just spoke on, finishing up my associates to be a director, assistant director in early childhood education. So just because I didn't start off right on the right path in education did not mean that that was the way I was going to finish, as we see. And I'm grateful for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Ms. Booker, would you like to go next?
I gotta get this mute thing on and off together. Yes. Right after high school. In high school, I actually did what they call work study. So actually I worked and I went to high school and I took technical training. And when I graduated, from high school, I actually went to college. I started out at UMSL, and I worked part-time as a medical records technician. And because I've always had an interest in business and always had an interest in helping others and being of service to others. So I did that for a little while and figured, okay, I'm not making enough money to do the things I want to do, so I need to really get back in school. So I ended up going to Columbia College, getting a BS in business and computer information systems, which is was my interest. After that, I worked for A.G. Edwards for about 20 years, actually. And I started out in doing researching stocks and working with the analysts in the research department, went to corporate service, and I was a stock option analyst. And then I ended my career at A.G. Edwards in 2009 with the merger, and I was a business analyst on the bond desk. And so my last job there was working on the bond desk, working with brokers, you know, finding niches in the market, because I was in sales and marketing all while I was there, because I like helping, I like talking to people, like coaching, I like training. So I did a lot of training areas. I worked on a lot of the trainings as far as information systems when I was at Edwards. Then as I was with Edwards, I also was an adjunct professor with the St. Louis Community College. And so I taught information systems for business and how information systems and business work together, because that was my interest, because I like the way we take data and that data just explains a lot of things for us and can work things out for us. So that was my goal. After I left Edwards, I did some odd jobs, like I worked for Express Scripts as an analyst and did some things like that. And so the community college called me back because they needed someone to teach. So I went back, I taught a few classes. Then this program came up with the Workforce Solutions. They needed someone who had the business background and also could, you know, work with the students, because I had taught and I had business. So, and that's kind of how I landed here in the Workforce Solutions group. And I got my master's in from Lindenwood University in business and a focus in HR. So kind of in a nutshell, I've left out a lot because I've had a full career of doing a lot of different things, believe me.
All right, thank you for sharing. Mr. Davis, you want to go?
Yeah, that's fine. So hi, once again, my name is Chris Davis. In terms of career, you know, I definitely want to hit on the importance of higher education, but at the same time, also picking up, you know, a trade that you're passionate about as well. You can do both. In terms of my career trajectory, I started, you know, with the importance of wanting to get an education from individuals that look like me. So with that being said, I chose an HBCU, Philander Smith College in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is, you know, a key point in terms of just historical significance from Jocelyn Elders to connection with the Little Rock Nine, right? From there, you know, I graduated with my bachelor's in accounting, and I went on to Arkansas State University to receive my MBA in finance. I guess the main question is, how did I get to Def Jam? And we can talk about the beauty of networking at some point, but I wanted to just reflect on, higher education, one, and setting yourself up to be prepared for when those opportunities come. And so, and there's opportunity, there's preparation, and then there's that push, right? And so I literally traveled from Arkansas to the New York area to pursue this thing. Before I worked at Def Jam, I was the diversity program coordinator at Arkansas State University while receiving my MBA of finance at the same time. When I got here to the New York area, I worked at Success Academy as a community relations coordinator. And at that time, I was also doing work with individuals at BET, MTV, VH1, and Def Jam as well, just trying to get into the building. At one point, I got the call. And so due to that networking, that hard work, I didn't physically apply, I didn't submit an application. I was called in, invited to the table, and I've been eating ever since. So just want to go ahead and, set that foundation. Thank you guys for the question.
Oh, thank you for sharing your input. The Smiths, would you guys like to share?
So I will go first. So some people we know, their after high school experience goes like a straight arrow. And then others of us go sort of like a jungle gym, it takes different routes. So after high school, I did a first-year experience at Northern Illinois University, and then had to come home because my dad was sick, and went to a really wonderful community college called South Suburban College in the south suburbs of Chicago, because that's where we're from. And I always love to talk about community college because it really changed my life, and it was beneficial in everything that I am today. And so after community college, I got my associate's degree in biological sciences, and then went on to Chicago State University and HBCU Commuter College in Chicago, got my degree in psychology. And that was after having gotten married and having 2 children. And then after Chicago State, there was probably 15 to 20 years in between that. And then I earned my master's in applied health behaviors research. And when we get to that part, I can talk about my career in higher ed, but that's what I did right after high school.
So I'm the geek in the bunch, and probably the one she's talking about who went straight from high school to, so in high school, I was an honor student and I did all the right things, just all of that stuff, got the grades, got the test scores, so that all that stuff kind of worked out for me. And I went from high school to Princeton University, one of those elite, super elite Ivy League school. But some things I want to say about that. One, I didn't know about it. I didn't really know what it was when I applied. I got a letter in the mail and an application, and I actually had to look it up in an encyclopedia because we didn't have Google then. So I had to look it up, discover what it was. And then after I got in, I was going to visit, and I had to have my teacher sign an excused absence thing. And my gym teacher, PE teacher, asked me where I was going. I said, I'm going to visit Princeton University. This dude looked at me and said, "You'll never get in," and laughed. And that experience has remained in my head and in my heart all my life. Yeah, and I was already in, but at that point, I just knew, I can't, whatever I do in life, it's like I have to make sure that as many people as possible don't have that experience of somebody telling them what they can't do. And I'm glad that when he told me that, I was already in, and that I didn't have to worry about what his opinions meant. So I went to Princeton University, graduated. I got a degree in philosophy. And I want to say that because that's, you know, like people are always talking about, well, majoring something that you can do something with. Ain't a whole lot, you know, if you major in philosophy, you're not going to go out and get a job as a philosopher with a bachelor's degree. But I would go back and I would do it again. After a period of time, she caught my attention after college and we got married, had kids. And about 10 years after I graduated, I always knew I wanted to go back to grad school because, again, it's like I love books, love reading. I like to write. I wanted to be a poet and write. So I just wanted to go back to school. And so I ended up at WashU to get a Master of Fine Arts in poetry writing, which is, again, you know, for me, it's important for people to know that you can get degrees in all kinds of things. And in both of those, I was just following my passion. It was stuff that was important to me and that I wanted to do. So I got a Master of Fine Arts in poetry writing, then decided to get a PhD in English at WashU. So my educational path is from one elite, predominantly white institution to another. But I love the beauty of what you see sitting here in front of you. She's the one working at Yale, right? So she has a public, predominantly white community college, HBCU, and an elite, predominantly white degree. It's like, that's her path. Like, her path that crosses more institutions than mine, you know, but between the two of us, we both ended up in spaces together, on a journey together through all of this education. So I got my bachelor's degree before we got married, but it was, you got the associates after we got married too? Or before?
No, I got after.
Yeah, so all of her degrees came after we got married,
Yeah.
and most of them came after we had kids. So I think that's also important for people to know that whatever your dreams are, that there are multiple paths. So I have a direct path. She has a very convoluted path, but here we sit both in the space where we want to be and where we love to be.
And yours was paid for.
Yeah, and and that's important too. Especially for the graduate degrees, don't ever fret about paying for those, because basically all of that was paid for. So when I was in graduate school, they paid my tuition and I got a check every month. So when you think about going to graduate school, understand that it's not about you paying. It's about people paying you.
Sorry, I was trying to snap. I like that answer. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so our next question is, what are the details of your career? So if you could go into just a little spill of what you do and how important your position is. And I guess we can start with Ms. Booker. If you're ready. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was getting static. I was trying to adjust. I don't know what I was adjusting. It wasn't coming through clear. I'm sorry. You might want to.
We can come back to you. You want me to come back to you? That's okay, right?
Did everyone catch the question, or was it static?
What's the static?
Yeah, so could you?
Okay. So the question was, what are the details of your career now?
Oh, I can do that if you want me to go ahead. Yeah, right now I work for St. Louis Community College, and I work for the Workforce Solutions Group. In our group, what we do, we look for alternatives for students who don't want to take the traditional career path to go to college. Everybody, and we've learned that everybody is not college material. Everybody doesn't have an interest in college. Some people are more hands-on people. They like working with their hands. They like, doing things more, physical type things. And so we offer that alternative to people who are not looking for a college path right at that time. And what I do, I work with the manufacturing group. So my demographics are anywhere from 18 to, I've had students that were 60. What I do, I used to teach in the group. I taught the soft skills. now I'm the senior project associate over that group, over the manufacturing group. And Jesse, who is one of our first online students this this summer, just last class, right? Yeah, in our last class, and that's how I met Jesse. So what I do, I put the programs, I work with putting the programs together, work with the government with the grants, and then I work with the students. I do the recruiting part of it. I do, then I work with the students, getting them in, getting them acclimated to the, well, now the online. At first it was in class. So I take care of the whole thing, make sure we got the instructors, make sure the students are tested and all the things we need to do. So my job is to make sure everything is ready to go on day one. Okay. And so right now I work with the manufacturing group, like I said, and Jesse well, you got in on the online class, but it's a 6-week class. The first week consists of what we call bring your A game to work. Because employers were telling us that they need that the young millennials, and I don't like to pick on them, but sometimes, yeah, we all know. But anyway, so I used to teach the soft skills, so we hired an instructor to do that. And the soft skills, what it does, we talk about 7 foundational things that employers were looking for. And the first thing was attitude. And so you had to come with the right attitude. Then we talked about, and then we talk about appearance. We talk about attendance. We talk about ambition. We teach on acceptance, accountability, and appreciation. So that's a week of that. And then also in that class, we get their resumes. We do mock job interviewing and things like that. So after they finish that first week, the second week they go into like their as far as the Missouri manufacturing job, they go into their credential class. So they get an opportunity to get certified production credentials in safety and in quality and measurement. So they do 2 weeks of that. And the great thing about it is that then they get the hands-on. Jesse missed out on that because with the COVID-19, we could not do our job. We usually have a job fair at the end. They get to take their exams and things like that and pass them and be successful. We coach them along the way. And at the end, we usually have a job fair because we have companies that we collaborate with, we're partnering with. Because what we try to do, we're working with companies to get students in apprenticeships. And so they can work, learn, and get paid. And so, we missed out on that. So now we're just taking resumes and sending them to our partners. But it's a great opportunity then for them to come in to get some stackable credentials. And that's the thing that we try to stress on, the stackable credentials, because not only did you'll walk away with your safety, your quality and measurement. You'll get your OSHA 10, and then you get a certificate from the state. This program is like 100 hours. It's free. The governor of the state, Parson, came down and pushed this program because we knew we had a demographic out there that wasn't interested in college, but we could get them some training and get them some credentials and get them some jobs that making more than minimum wage and kind of put them into a career pathway. So they could start there, because we've had some start in our program and they end up working for Boeing. They go through the Boeing program or go through other programs that we have. So it's really a career pathway. We start them in one program and then we lead them on through. So when they're done, they are making decent salaries where they can raise a family and do some things on it, get them an apartment, get out their mother's homes and things like that. We want them to be very productive people. So, and it's a great program. Like I tell the students all the time, you get out of it what you put into it, but we're there to help them along the way. I mean, I'm sure I'm leaving out a lot because it takes a lot to run these programs, but in a nutshell, that is pretty much what I do.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Booker. And I can attest to that. That was a great program. Like she said, that's also a program for people that don't feel like going the traditional college route. But it's also a program that could get you started in multiple facets of careers.
Yes.
Getting
Yes.
certifications, that's key. And sometimes, like, a lot of people don't want to go to college; they just want to get a good job and,
Exactly.
like you said, start a family. And as a lot of kids will say, be grown, be on their own. So right, you're right. So thank you for sharing that, Ms. Booker. We're gonna go ahead and go forward with Mr. Davis.
All right. Won't be very long-winded with what's going on. But my career and what I do is pretty much help to facilitate and create marketing activation from our artists, right? Similar, I work under what are known as product managers. So, for example, let's say product manager Charlene Thomas, right? That's actually her real name. I probably shouldn't have said that, but it's okay. Her project is Jeezy, right? As a marketing coordinator, my job is to help create marketing activations for his albums, the TN 101s, 102, 103, for example, or the anniversary of those, which is actually coming up really, really soon. With that being said, some of the things that you would see me do on a day-to-day basis is having conversations with artists and artist management to try to figure out, we'll come up with a list of ideas or a list of asks in terms of, what we would need them to do and how feasible those things would be. Management or the artist would say, hey, I'm cool with A, B, C, D, or E. We then go back to the companies that we work with to make sure that everything happens in play. So, for example, you can look up on YouTube, but Jeezy, as his moniker as the Snowman, was featured on a news station giving the weather, right? And so this was mid-July, and so at the end of the report, he says, it's also going to be snowing, and then the forecast turns into, the snow falling on the thing, even though it was literally 80 degrees outside. But that was just a marketing ploy to help, boost his album or help promote his album. So it's my job to help to find these activations, to help to find places that we can put our artists into to help with our most desired effect, which is streaming nowadays. And that's only because physical albums, to an extent, don't necessarily exist in the marketplace anymore. There used to be a time where you can go and pick up an album, and you still can pick up vinyl and so on and so forth. But in terms of streaming, we focus on our major platforms, our Spotify's, our Apple's, our Deezer's, our Audio Max for mixtape sites and so on and so forth, just to figure out which ways we can go ahead and get it to the most people as soon as possible.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis, for sharing that. We're going to jump to the Smiths. Same question. What are the details of your career at this moment?
So details of my career at this moment. Again, I have like two things I do. One that's easiest to explain is I teach in the African American Studies department program at St. Louis University. So that means I get to create courses and design courses and tell people what to read and help people figure out what to think. For me, it's just one of the most fun things ever because instead of reading what people tell me to read, I get to tell other people to read. And I taught a course. One of my favorite courses to teach is a African American comedy course. And so for that course, it's like a lot of the time we spend watching video, like stand-up videos. So it's a course that includes Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, Richard Pryor, old folks like Moms Mabley, we read Boondocks, and I'm like, somebody's paying me to do that. It's like I would go hang out with you to talk about the Boondocks and Dave Chappelle, but instead somebody gives me a check to do that. So it's great to be me. And the other day job that I do, it's like I'm the vice president for diversity. So the things that I do at the university level when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, and things we do in the community, I'm involved with just about every kind of constituency you can imagine. So some days I'm working with students to think about student retention and admission. Other days, like currently I spend some time working with one of our vaccine research teams just to talk about how they can do things equitably. Other times I'm talking with people. This week I'm trying to find space for an artist to do artwork on campus. So I work with absolutely everybody from the president on down. And I actually get to, I really love doing this job because I actually get to help determine what the university says, what the university thinks, and what the institutional values are. So I don't have to protest against them every day because I get to help determine what we actually are. And that's the thing I really love about my job.
So I think it's important to sort of frame all of my career with what I want it to be when I grew up, which was a doctor. By the time I was in community college, I realized, you know, I really want to be a doctor. I had a Black pediatrician, which was rare growing up in the 60s. And, but also growing up in the 60s, Black and brown people really didn't get a lot of information about how to be a doctor or how to be really many things in the professional world. For Black women, it was mostly you could be a teacher or you could be a nurse. And I applaud those professions, but I did not want to be either of those things. I knew in my heart I wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't have a roadmap. You know, neither of my parents were in medicine. They barely, my dad had a certificate in engineering, and my mom at that point only had an 8th grade education. So I remember thinking when I chose psychology for my degree in college that I would devote my life to helping other students figure out what they wanted to do in the sciences. And so ultimately, that's what I'm doing. What I do at Yale is primarily focus on faculty and students who want to achieve a career in the sciences. And I help them think about, and I help the institution think about what can get them into these careers and into these training programs and what can keep them there and what can make them successful. So that, in a nutshell, is what I do in my job on a day-to-day basis. And it's been built upon, I spent 21 years at Washington University doing this, also working with low-income first-generation students, getting them through what's called the pipeline. And so it's something that I really enjoy, and it's helping me live out that promise and that vow that I made to myself as a younger person, living that out in my life.
All right, thank you for sharing. And Mr. Odom, you want to go ahead and share what are the details of your career at the moment? You're still on mute.
I'm gonna get this thing down before it's over. The details about my career at the moment, that's a great question. The details is, bottom line up front, is to be a positive influence and have a positive image in the eyes of our children here at our center, to include their families. And with the route that I'm being trained in, the trajectory, I will also include the staff that's associated with our learning center. So it's a very interesting dynamic, as in the military, it was all about adult education. As a first sergeant, it was I was in the human resources role in the Air Force, where I would always have to deal with the issues of the families, the issues of our airmen, and everything that went along with that. And here it's just the opposite. And I see the opportunity to give back at such a early age. Many of our families, they may not have a positive male role model, and that's just stating the facts. So with that, I have to bring that every day, even though it's a huge learning curve for me, and especially in this new normal with this COVID environment, as things change daily, as things have to be put in place for the safety of the staff, for the safety of the children and the families. It's an adventure, but it's an adventure that I'm excited to be on, and it's all about giving back. So that's what I do daily.
All right, that's great. I guess that kind of leads into my next question. How has COVID-19 changed your profession? How has it changed your day-to-day operations since COVID has happened? Maybe go ahead and lead us off.
Okay. Well, it truly changes daily. We were looking at a COVID-19 plan for early childhood education centers that was sent out from the state of California and CDC. It was one dated July the 7th, and then on the 17th, there's new information. For our parents and children that will be coming in, they will see that our facility actually looks different. We had to add additional entry points, additional checkpoints, of course, to check temperatures. Now the parents are not allowed to come into the facility when they were used to that pre-COVID, right? So that's another dynamic that they have to get used to. They already trusted us with their children, but that's another piece to where, some children they want that extra hug, or they want mommy or daddy to walk them back to the back area, and that can't happen now, So there's just extra safety measures and precautions that will continue to happen as we learn more about this pandemic daily.
All right. The Smiths, how has the pandemic changed you guys' professions?
Well, wow, where do we start? Number one, I got this job at Yale 2 months before. Well, I took the job. I started January 15th, and then we had to evacuate our offices, I think, March 15th. And so most of my time at Yale has been virtual. My onboarding to a position is, virtual, which has never happened to me before. That's number one. Number two, I no longer, permanently live in St. Louis. So because of COVID, I was able to come back from New Haven, Connecticut, to come back to my St. Louis house and to this guy, instead of our planned, every 2 weeks, coming back and forth. And after 36 years of marriage, that was a huge deal for us to decide that that was what we were going to do to make it possible for me to be able to take this job. For my students, some are coming back, but most are not. And I have a lot of students who work in labs. So, their work is now, some of it is being derailed. Their trajectory for their graduation and their defense of their thesis, that's being derailed. Everything that we know about higher ed has been turned on a dime. Not to mention huge budget cuts, pay cuts, etc. So putting out excellent work, still being motivated, to produce high quality programs, initiatives, etc. Even within those constraints, it really is a test of where your passions lie, because the work still needs to be done. But you have to figure out a different way to do it. So I could go on, but I'll let him talk about it.
Yeah, so everything that she said, the other thing, just on an ordinary day-to-day basis, where you see me right now, it's like I spend 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day sitting right here, because all of the work that we do now at the university has to happen in this space as opposed to face-to-face. So that's one thing, and I think that has a lot of effect on people's social health, emotional health, how you get through a work day. So I used to be able to just walk down the hall to see the president or the general counsel or and solve a problem like that. Now that's become a lot more difficult to do, because now we got to set up an appointment to meet on Zoom. And I can't just walk into anybody's office anymore. It also means that I can't see the coworkers who gave me life every day at work. I don't get to see them anymore. And what many of us have to do, and especially what leaders of organizations, every big industry you can think about, every school system you can think about, has a group of folk who are asking questions day after day and watching the news every day to see whether or not COVID is going to change our plans. So as a university, it's like, are we going to have classes face-to-face? Are we going to be virtual again? And if we try to go face-to-face, what happens if COVID, and if people don't come back, what happens to scholarships? I mean, if people don't come and pay to go, then scholarships get diminished. Or people who are doing house cleaning facilities, it's like they lose jobs. What's their exposure? So my job has, in a lot of ways, for me, has gotten like a lot more stressful, because I'm having to ask questions every day about an entire community's, just St. Louis University, an entire community's health, right? It's like, what are we going to do, and how does it affect the health of the entire community? And then for me, on top of that, when you do diversity equity work, it's like, it's the whole community, but I also have to look out for those folks who don't usually have good voice in that community. So how is this going to affect Black people? How is this going to affect Latinx people? How is this going to affect women? How is it going to affect people who work in the dining halls? How is it going to affect faculty? And so it's honestly been a whole lot more stressful over the last, so the work has amplified, the kinds of questions have gotten bigger, and the stakes got higher, right? So things that used to just be about money are now about money and life or death, and so that's just a huge thing that so many of us are dealing with right now.
And can I just add one thing? With my students, especially students of color and students from low-income backgrounds, we have to worry about technological disparities. Am I having to take care of my little sister or my grandmama while I have to do Zoom, to go to school or to, be on a call like this, et cetera, et cetera. We also have to grapple with those things and address those things with our students and with other folks that we work with.
Yeah, you guys touched on a lot of great points that I believe everybody on this call could agree with, just having to adjust everything from interacting with your peers to, like you said, solving problems a whole lot quicker. I know for me, when I started working here, COVID-19 just happened. I had my first day of training, and then after that, never been back to the building. Every day it's been online. And then for me, I'm not really big and good at technology, so I had to do a lot of learning real quick, because it was different. I was once a music teacher, so I was really used to just working in a classroom, being hands-on, and that just shifted everything in my life. So I can definitely understand that. Mr. Davis, you want to share with us how the pandemic has affected your?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, right? of course, COVID-19 has greatly affected the music industry. In terms of Universal Music Group, so to further explain, Universal Music Group is the big umbrella, and under that label, there are 7 other labels. That's your Def Jam, that's your Interscope, that's your Capitol, you know, so on and so forth. So in terms of COVID, there is a ban on all travel, which means all staff, artists or whatever, are for the most part, and it's starting to lift now, but for the most part, we are not able to travel in order to, you know, shoot music videos, anything like that. The videos that you guys are probably seeing right now on YouTube are COVID friendly, and in most instances are happening inside the house or the home of our artists. All of our UMG companies have shut down. In other words, no one is able to go into the office or anything like that. I will say, however, though, due to COVID-19, and the productivity of the music industry is actually increased. And the reason because of that is music in its nature is intangible. And so due to COVID-19, what we're seeing is an increase on our streaming platforms. So that is your YouTubes, that's your, you know, if you got a jailbroken Fire Stick, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. If you know cable, the TV, or anything like that, you know, you are seeing a massive increase based on people who have to be at home. And so for the music industry, to be perfectly honest with you, except for the activations that we can't do because we can't have gatherings with 10 or more people, most of our artists are located either in New York or Los Angeles. Of course, we have artists in Atlanta, Chicago, so on and so forth, in which you can't have gatherings that are more than 10 people, and that they have to have guidelines according to the CDC and COVID-19 and UMG guidelines. But for the music itself, our artists are able to go into the studios more. We're able to release more music nowadays, and we're actually able to seeing a greater increase on what we call consumption. So more of our target demographics and audiences are listening to more music because, for lack of a better word, they don't have anything else to do. You know, if you're at home, you're listening to music. You know what I'm saying? Or you're watching TV, or you know, after you're done with school for the day, you know, people are really coming together, and music has always been that universal language that everyone spoke. So that's how it works for me.
Okay, thank you for sharing with us, Ms. Booker. I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but do you want to share a little bit more how the pandemic has changed things for you?
Yeah, with me, it has really changed because I've been at home since March. And, you know, at first I thought, oh, wow, I'm going to work from home. It's going to be great. I don't have to get up. I mean, I can get up when I pretty much on my own and don't have to get dressed and don't have to, you know, be bothered with people. Well, that's the main thing that I'm missing, the people. I'm missing being able to walk out of my office and walk like to someone else's office and discuss a issue or a problem. Now we're emailing or we're calling or we're Zooming, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. You know, it's more of a challenge we had to take all of our classes and transfer them to a online format, and we had to do it in like a short period of time, and we had to do it by Zoom, by telephone, by email, and it has been really a challenge. But we've gotten it. We got it done. We do what we have to do. And I miss my outreach, because I usually get out and go to a lot of the community organizations and have meetings with, you know, other colleges and other people doing the same thing that I'm doing. And I'm just missing the socialization part of it. And then it's almost a challenge with the students too, because like you said, some of them are the technology, some of them don't have it. We've had to turn students down because they didn't have, you know, computers to be able to do these courses. And that really bothered me. It really did, to have to turn people away who were really, really interested in taking these programs and getting these credentials. But we do what we have to do, and I've found ways to get them to either go to a library. You can actually get computers from libraries. I've had called up organizations to make sure that someone who really couldn't afford one, that they were afforded one and given one to use for the time being. So it has been, we've had to do a lot more, but I guess it's humbling me too, to not take so much for granted. Sometimes we tend to take a lot of things for granted. And then when we're hit with situations like this, it gives us time sometimes to sit back and think about best practices, the way we can do things better, the way we can approach things better. So it's been a give and take for me. But I'll just be glad when it's all over.
Yeah, I think everybody can agree with that. Tiara, you want to?
Yes, can everybody hear me this time? I'm staticky, I'm good. All right, that's all I needed to know. So, Rochelle, I know you have to leave early, so I wanted to ask this question and have you start us off, okay? So the question is, we have a lot of students who are overwhelmed with school, and now that COVID has hit, they're at home, and like we have one student who says they feel like they're going to forget their English because at home they speak another language. So dealing with issues at home and just the regular stress of being a high school student or a high school student going to college, what would be the advice you would have given yourself at this time? I know it would have been a different time, but something you would have given yourself and something that would have carried on throughout your life. So.
Oh, I can go. I've always been out of high school 10 years, so it's closing in on it. Yeah, man. Don't see everybody looking at me like, oh, okay. Anyway, the thing I would have told myself in the past is like, man, in terms of the field I was interested in, not necessarily, what you know is who you know. B, I would have told my 11th grade self, and they're getting rid of these tests now, but studying for your SAT or your ACT is extremely important in terms of just scholarship and opportunities, anything like that. I went to Smith College, but I missed a full ride scholarship because of 2 points on my ACT. That hurt my soul. With that being said, and thirdly, the thing I want to encourage purpose, like the thing that that you're supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? Do that. Work for that. The truth be told, all of us in this meeting are working for talented individuals, right? If it's a clothing company, we're working because that designer was talented. It's a music industry, working because that artist was talented. The thing that you have a passion for, cultivate that. There is a market for what you do. And I'm not necessarily pushing entrepreneurship. What I'm saying is, continue to work on those skills or those things that you are passionate about, and go for that. Go for that. That's all I'm saying. Like you can do it. You can do it. It's enough food out here for everyone. And people think of Jeff Bezos and how he's $175 billion in. Instead think, oh well, his the market or whatever had $175 billion to give him. You see what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily that this man was so great, but it's because his gift helped the resources come to him, and because of that, there's enough resource for everybody. And so I want to, and I come from Gary, Indiana, right? So at one time, murder capital of the world, poverty rate is currently at 45%. Almost 1 out of every 2 people are living below the poverty line. But for me, it's like, you see the situation. What are you going to do to, one, remove yourself from that situation, and two, pull somebody else up? So in conclusion, the things I would have told myself is keep pushing, study. Your market is for you. I do see some people in the chat as well. Let me see. Okay, that's not for me. Is it? No, it's not for me. All right, thank you.
Because unfortunately I have to hop off and go to another meeting, but, so 3 things. Number 1, all roads lead to you reaching your goal. There's not, money can't keep you from it. If you really want it, you know, not enough blackness in the world on your skin can keep you from it if you really want it. Now, I'm not negating systemic, institutional, and structural racism. That's a thing. That's a huge thing. But I'm a living witness that somebody from a little town outside of Chicago, having gone to community college, a commuter HBCU with no money, you know, mother with 8th grade education, dad with virtually no college. I'm at Yale and I'm doing exactly what I want to do. So all roads lead to your goals if you want to work to get there. Secondly, any job, any project, any initiative that you're going to be a part of boils down to this. How do you know how to think? How do you know how to solve problems? Critical thinking skills. That should be your number 1 overarching leadership skill period that will take you so far in your life. Critical thinking skills. Know how to think through a problem. And then thirdly, don't try to do it yourself. We are not built to achieve things in our lives by ourselves. We're not built for that. You have these individuals, you know, certainly Jonathan and I, Tiara knows how to get in contact with us. Don't be afraid, you know, to email us, text us and say, you know what, somebody said I should know how to do this, but I don't know how to do this. Somebody said I should know how to get to this place and reach my goal, but I don't know how to do that. You know, be able to, you know, when people talk about networking, all networking is talking. That's all it is. It's talking to other people with the purpose of making relationships and connection. That's all networking is. So throw out the window that it's this big scary thing. All of us, I hope, on this line know how to talk. So, that's what I have. What about you?
She's always hard to follow. One thing I'd say, and it's in what you said, ask for help. Always ask for help, and ask for help, especially when you're doing something right and doing it well. Don't wait until you're failing at something. That even if you are the best at what you do, ask for help. And it's like the people who are those high achieving people who are at the tops of their games are still always asking for help. They're always challenging themselves. So ask for help, challenge yourself. And I think I want to double down on what Chris said, purpose. It's just like, whatever it is, all of us have something that we're excellent at, and we don't have to, just because nobody else has done it, doesn't mean it can't be done. Just because nobody else around you has done it doesn't mean that you can't do it. But you really have to, it's like, just go for it, because the things that both of us are doing, no one around us affirmed that we could be who we are today. And the last thing, and Mariah, it's like, we will get that to you, our emails.
I just wrote her. I told her I'll get it.
All right, great. So we have to do this in community, and you know, COVID and where we are right now is really interesting. I mean, because it's a horrible time. It's a time full of problems, but it also makes it a time full of opportunities. So like, even with the question of, it's like, how do you create community where you can speak English with other people, even if it's not happening at home? It's a problem to solve. And if we can figure out how to solve that problem, or you can figure out how to solve that problem, it may be a market opportunity. It may be a life-changing opportunity. It may be a thing that gives you a real purpose in life, because you know exactly what that feels like, and you know what the stakes are. The last thing I'll say is, I know college, higher ed is not for everyone. However, please be sure that you don't give up on it because of how somebody else assesses you. Just because somebody else tells you that it's not for you, or that you can't do it, or that nobody else, nobody like you, don't give up on it for that reason. Don't ever give up on anything for that reason. Make sure that you are following your own purpose. If your own purpose leads you to higher ed, follow it. And it might not, just because it's not for you now, doesn't mean that it's not for you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or 20 years from now. It's a long road, a long journey, and I mean, so much adventure out here in life. And again, Mrs. Smith and I can tell you, through all these years that we've been together, we've been through so many places, so many ups, so many downs, all kinds of places. We've been everywhere from WIC to talking with billionaires, just like everywhere in between. And we know, and we affirm and believe that every place we've been, we're not special. We believe every place that we've been, everybody else can go. So don't give up.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right, thank you once again for the Smiths for sharing. Ms. Booker, you want to share with us some advice that you would give yourself, or that you want to share with the students?
Yes. Being where I am now and looking back at an early age, I would tell myself, and I tend to even still do it now, don't be afraid of being afraid. Because that main thing that sometimes you're afraid of is that main thing where you get your growth from. The things that have always been afraid to tackle or do, or to ask people for, or to reach out on my own and do it, are the main things that has given me the growth that I have now. Because I'm just looking back over my career, and then working in a place like finance, working with pretty much white males, and the opportunities that I was given because I asked for them. Not only did I ask for them, when I got them, I did very well with them. So, but I was always afraid to. So I tell all my students, I tell my son the same thing. Don't be afraid for it. Don't be afraid to ask. If you feel that's what you want to do and you can do it, ask for it. And when you get it, put your all into it and do it well. And he has done very well with taking that same thing, because sometimes people are there to help us and we don't really realize it until we ask for the help. And so, and Jesse probably can attest to that, because out of all my emails, when I send them out to my students, anytime you have any problems or concerns or issues, please contact me. And I say it all the time, don't I? I don't care what it is, how big or how small. If I can help you in any way or guide you in the right direction, do it. And you have to be, you just have to be able to ask for help and ask for it. And when you get it, take heed to it and do the best you can, because anything that you do in life, do it well, because all those things at some point comes together that and that's where how you reach your goals sometimes, by taking things from here, from there, and there. And all of a sudden you realize, I did all these things and went through all of this because actually it was a pathway to what I really wanted to do. And that's how I feel now. I'm doing exactly what I wanted to do. I took many routes. I was afraid at a lot of them because I was given opportunities that I was afraid to take, but I took them anyway with a lot of prayer and took them and did well with them. And so I've been very successful in the things that I've done and the things that I do. So just don't be afraid to reach for whatever you want. Do it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Ms. Booker. All right, Mr. Odom, you want to share?
Yes, I would like to share. Thank you. The advice that I would give is to set goals for yourself. When I was in high school, when I was at the fork in the road, if you would, and it was like, okay, what is it that I want to do? Where do I see myself? I actually asked myself, where do I see myself within the next few years? And with that, to be perfectly honest, I did not like the answer that came back because I thought on that, right? Mm-hmm. And the next question that I asked myself was, okay, where do I want to see myself? Where do I see myself? And then where do I want to see myself? And then from that point, I began to set goals. I said, okay, so short-term goals. So this is, and I put a time on it. So my short term was within the next year, this is where I want to be. And then from there, I had to critically think. That came up, right? I had to critically think on how do I set myself up for success to get there? The environment, the people that I hang out with, the mentors that I'm looking for, right? It has to be like-minded, right? In that short term. So then I didn't stop there. Once I get there, then what are my midterm goals? And I looked at that between the next 2 to 5 years or whatever. And then that actually took me into another season of my life because at that point in time, I was in the military. So I had to start over again, right? Because this is a lifelong learning process. We don't stop learning until we no longer have any breath, right? I mean, that's we learn something new every day. COVID is showing us this, right? So then after the median goals, and I set the long-term goals, which now I'm in another season of my life where, you know, I'm married going on 19 years and I have my 3 children and all that. I have different, right? Different different value systems. And I've grown from that 19-year-old who was sitting in my mom's basement, right? As she let me know that every grown person needs their own place. And then I begin to ask myself that first question, where do I see myself? And it all goes full circle as I can now speak to my daughters and my son and give them that same advice. So I give that to the students right here and all of us to really set the goals, make sure that they're achievable, make sure that there's a time stamp on them, and make sure that we keep on putting it in front of us so we can see where it is that we said we wanted to go. That's what I got.
All right. Thank you a lot for that, Pat. You got something you want to share real quick, Mr. Smith?
Yes, I want to say thank you so much for that, Pat. And I really want to reemphasize, and call attention to what you said at the beginning. You said, where do I see myself? And you clearly did some honest, realistic self-assessment. And I think a lot of us, when we ask that question, where do I see myself? We just jump to where do I want to see myself? And that we really have to do, like, if I stay on this path that I'm on, where is this path taking me? And that you really have to see that clearly in order to get to that next one. So I really appreciate it. And I think it's important for everybody to kind of focus on that. It's like, where do I realistically see myself? You know, in my head, I see myself, you know, as, you know, the next big, you know, bigger than Chance. But it's like, if I stay on this path, is that going to get me there? Right. And if that path isn't going to get me there, then what do I need to do to get on that path? So there's a difference between assessment and dreaming, you know, and dreams are great, but you need to put real assessment on it. So I would just want to thank you for that.
Righty. So all the answers was great. I know for me personally, I had to, everything that all the panelists said, I pretty much had to do myself. I had to assess myself. I had to think about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, what exactly was I good at. Did I want to go to college? And I know for our students, maybe some of our seniors are getting to that point, like, okay, do I really want to go to college? What is my passion? And so right now we're going to open the floor up to our students to ask some questions to the panelists. Don't be afraid to just be honest, and hopefully they can give you the answers you're looking for. Does anybody that want to go first?
All right, I'll go. So I have a question for like all of you guys. So what habits, like good habits, have you, put into your life since you've been going into your careers?
That's a good question, Dave.
So I'll give my answer to that. I try as much as possible to remain balanced. Okay. And what I mean by that is I try to remain fit socially, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I call those my 4 pillars. And I have to have balance in them, because if socially, COVID-19 has knocked out that social pillar to a certain extent, right? So if that one is crumbling, then I pray that I could depend on my other 3 pillars while I'm working to build that other one up. If I'm out of balance and all of those are off, then I open myself up to be more vulnerable to things that can bring me down. So my advice is to try to maintain that balance, have a solid foundation with those 4 pillars.
That's a good one. I'll piggyback off of that. You also, good habits, you want to make sure you're doing things that's going to vault you into your purpose. For me, once I started going to college and I started taking the education program and started doing that, I started surrounding myself with more educators. So I can learn from them. I can get the inside scoop. I can know pearls and everything. Because even though I'm going through experience and things that teach me through experience, it's always good to get advice from people that know what you're ready to step into. So I surround myself with educators, musicians, and then just like when you go to college or when you're in school, you surround yourself with people that are kind of into the things you do. So if you play sports or if you like chess or anything, you surround yourself with that. But as you get older, you will run across people that you have to use discernment for, to determine, okay, is this person going to help me get to where I'm trying to go? Is this person going to push me to where I'm trying to go? Motivation is a key thing. And sometimes when you can't find it within yourself, you want to make it happen to have people around you that can motivate you as well.
Two things I'd say. For me, I always ask questions. I'm always asking questions. So anything that somebody tells me, anything I read, my first response is to ask as many questions of it as I can. And it's like, even when I think of stuff and I think that I'm right, I am always asking questions, and I'm always trying to cultivate my curiosity. So I don't listen only to the music that I like and that I'm familiar with. I'm always looking for new stuff. So typically, often when when I sit with students, I ask them, I don't know, I probably asked Tierra this, it's like, what are you listening to now? It's like, what are you streaming now? What are you listening to now? What are you watching? What are you reading? And so I try to listen to and watch and consume and read stuff that's way outside of my area of interest, because at some point, almost all of that stuff, helps me one way or another. So as I sit out on my back deck, sometimes I'm listening to country, sometimes I'm listening to gospel, sometimes I'm listening to Broadway shows, sometimes I'm listening to jazz or African world music. And it's like, for me, it's just like cultivating curiosity helps me helps keep my mind engaged, and I think helps keep me sharp, and it helps me think creatively about the work that I have to do. And in order to be successful, you know, to be successful and maintain success over the long period of time, you have to think differently than other people, or you know, or otherwise you'll always be a follower and never a leader. So cultivate curiosity and always ask questions. So for me, those have been two of the most important habits of my own for success.
And I can say mine, I'd like to piggyback off for Pat when he said balance. I think balance is very important, having some type of balance in your life, family and work balance, because sometimes we get so involved in our work that sometimes we, and it's just me and my husband now, so we don't, and so sometimes I get so involved in it that I forget about, you know, the family life sometimes, you know. So what I try to do now, my approach is to have fun, even working, to make it fun. And I also try to, I try to take different approaches at solving problems and doing things. Then I recognize the progresses and the aha moments, because I love the aha moments when something works or someone gets it. And I also, I like end results. So I kind of concentrate on what was the end results of that? Did that work out? Did it not work out? And how can I do that better? Or what can we do to make it better? And then I look for best practices, ways to do things better, to make it easier, to make it less challenging. Pretty much, and then accomplishments. What did we accomplish from that? What did my students accomplish from them? What did we accomplish as a group? You know, so I have to kind of keep those things going. So, because sometimes you can get real depressed and get really bogged down in some things because you start to let the small, and don't sweat the small stuff, you know? So pretty much, that's kind of my approach to it.
Right.
Helps me. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Davis, did you want to add on to that?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm over here listening. I'm just like, well, they said everything, you know. Yeah, you know, about passion and purpose and pushing, and you got people who will help you. Like that's all very true. And I actually very much so enjoy these kinds of people, and the reason, you know, they understand the concept I've been saying all along. There's enough out here for everyone. While everybody's career path or path in general may be different, I have a higher level of respect for the individuals on this panel who are reaching back, who are bringing the new generation up. And so I don't have anything personally. So thank you guys again.
I have something. Can you hear my music in the background? It's not me. I'm sorry. I've been trying to stay quiet because it's loud over here. All right. But what I would say is just be aware of your teachers, the people who are placed in your life to guide you along here, and to really dig into this. So what I mean is that I have Jonathan and Rochelle. They've been a part of my life since I was a baby. And I've been grateful for them, but I didn't realize the importance they were in my life until I got to college, and I'm grateful that I still have them now and I can reach back and ask questions and stuff. But I know in high school, I wish I would have took more advantage of them sometimes, because I'm like, but I didn't know at that time, and my mind was focused on other things. And then when I got to college, I met Chris, and Chris was my tutor. And then I had all the questions for Chris because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, but he was there to help me. So I started to understand, okay, these are people placed in my life to help me along this journey. And more recently, I have Alexandria. She's been such a help with this transition because I was confused in the beginning. I was like, okay, what we doing? But she's been so helpful, and I've seen her as that teacher, and I've been able to observe her. And she always say, ask me questions, that's what I'm here for. And I love her personality. So I always say, be aware of who your teachers are. We are your teachers. We're here for you. We're here to help you. So don't be afraid to ask us questions. Don't be afraid to reach out. That's what we're here for. So that's just my little spiel.
Yes, and I second that. I definitely second that. Is there anybody else that have any questions?
Yeah. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, first and foremost, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this meeting. My question would be is, what if the career path you're going after, you don't make it or you're turned away? Like, what do you do then?
All right, bet. I want this one. This is my last one. This is my last question. So, you know, when you say the career path you want, you don't make it. I want to say, you know, take a step back. There's no such thing for me as failure. You know what I'm saying? Just a learned lesson. You know, and the thing that's meant for you, you know, you're going to get it if you continue to be persistent in your goals, right? I work at Def Jam now, but when I first moved here, even before I started working at Success Academy, I was 2 steps away. Even with my master's degree, I was 2 steps away from selling door-to-door internet. What is meant for you is meant for you. All right, like, yeah, people are gonna tell you no. Yeah, you gonna hear that. It's gonna be a little hit to your ego a little bit, because here I am, master's degree, young black man. I just knew I was gonna take the world by storm. I was like, they hit me with the nope, and so that did not work the way I planned. So I want you to think about like this. Don't think about your failure. The truth is, all you need is one yes, right? Before, you know what I'm saying? And I had stories of just trying to interact with people. Even when I was watching hip hop documentaries on Netflix, I would scroll to the credits and write down names of individuals to hit up, right? Nobody hit me back when I connected on LinkedIn. Soon as I got the job, oh, you remember me now. That's crazy. That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So what I say to that is, you know, do not give up. You just need one yes. You just need one. You just need one. Just work on that one. You got it. That's what I would say.
Man, I love that answer. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
So I want to speak from the other end, because Chris is at the start of the journey. My first answer would be, don't focus on the destination, focus on the journey. Because as you whatever your career aspiration is now, chances are it'll change, and you'll live long enough to have multiple careers, different career aspirations. And this is also a moment where, again, I wish, Rochelle was back down here to share, because if you heard in her story, I mean, like, the things that she has wanted to do in life, and we had long conversations. So at one point, career was pushing her towards being a nurse. There were other moments she wanted to be an MD. But here she is today within the same field. She's working at the Yale School of Medicine. And so you can end up in the same field, and you let that journey and your passion and your purpose guide you. The specific job becomes less important, right? So, and if you worry less about the specific job, you may find spaces in careers in that field that are actually much more satisfying than the one narrow thing you imagine. So focus on the journey. And if you focus on the journey and cultivating yourself along that entire journey, and Chris has been saying this a lot, the marketplace, the world will make space for you. You'll find your space in it, and you want to find your space and not the space that someone else has defined for you or narrowly defined for you. Of all the things that I wanted to be when I grew up, I never thought I wanted to be an administrator, a senior level administrator in higher education. And I'm like, now that I got it, I'm kind of like, dude, this is always what I wanted to do. I just didn't know it was in this job, right? So my aspirations never led me there, but cultivating my curiosity and concentrating on the journey led me to a place. And then at a different moment and in a longer space, I'll tell you how I landed in this job was so unintentional. It was not I didn't look for this job. This job literally came looking for me. And the first time somebody asked me if I was going to apply for it, I looked at him like he was crazy. I was like, nah. It's like, I'm not even going to apply for it. And so it was, but all of the stuff that I ever wanted to do and have been trying to do, I found out when I got this job, it was there. So it wasn't the destination that I imagined. but it was the best destination so far, because the journey ain't over. It was the best destination so far for all the things I want to do and be.
Can I tell a quick story that goes to that question and wraps in what everybody just talked about?
Yeah, go ahead.
In 2005 or six, my dream job in the Air Force came up, and I was accepted for it. I had the orders, and it just had to go through one more level of approval, and that approval came down and said no, denied. Well, I was at a fork in the road. I was so upset that I was about to give up the whole entire Air Force and get out because of that decision. But someone had the wisdom and the foresight to have me do another self-assessment and take a look at God's big plan. All right. And maybe this isn't for you right now. You may not understand it now, but you will soon understand. So I said, okay. Well, a little later, Katrina happened. And the assignment was for me to be Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi, which also was wiped out during that time. At that time, we had a very young family. I just had my eldest daughter now, but we would have been there and she would have just been born. I don't know what would have happened, right? But that denial was not really a denial. It was a delay, because that next cycle, a better job came up. I got that assignment, and it set me off on the trajectory that I wound in the path that I wind up retiring at, which I could not have asked for anything more. So I'll say this: a delay is not a denial. As long as you go in, you take that to heart, you look at that, understand that your plans are not necessarily the best plans. There's a higher authority that's in control of everything. So once we get that, we'll realize that it's okay. And that's what I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Pat. I really appreciate that one. What about you, Ms. Booker?
What? I was going to say amen to that, because it's kind of like the way I landed in this job. It kind of landed on me, because I was going into a whole different direction, because I always wanted to do HR, always wanted to do recruiting and those type things. But every job that I've had prepared me for the next job. And so with this one here, someone came to me and said, we need someone like you to do this particular job over at the college. And I was like, I don't know. I said, it sounds like something I want to do. Is training, it's recruiting, it's working with students, it's teaching, it's doing all the things that I've done in a nutshell. And so, like he said, it wasn't what I had planned, but like you said, there's a bigger plan, and God has a bigger plan for us. And what's for me, I'll get it. And I can just honestly say, I got this job. I love it. I love the flexibility. I love working with the people that I work with. It is probably one of the most perfect jobs that I've ever had. And it just kind of was just not given. It was pretty much given to me. It was mine for the taking. And so, and there was quite a few people who wanted it. So I can attest to that. Amen. God has a bigger plan for us. Sometimes we have to sit back and listen and take heed to what he has for us. It's just take patience. Patience. Yeah.
Yes. Patience is key, especially when it comes to finding a career and figuring out what you want to do with your life, especially if you want to have a family and everything like that. You've got to have patience. I can attest to that. So is there any more questions? Anybody else have any more questions? If not, we're going to go ahead and thank all our panelists. The Smiths, thank you so much for coming out. Ms. Booker, thank you for coming out. Mr. Odom, thank you for coming out. Mr. Anderson, he had to leave. Thank you for the students for coming out. I hope you guys really got something from this. I know I did. And, this was a great time to sit down and learn some things from some people from very diverse backgrounds. As you see, kind of stories all tie into each other. We have a plan. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, but you got to just keep fighting, keep trying, and trust and believe that your work will, all the hard work you're putting in will work out for you. Yeah,
Yes, this was a great panel, guys. I'm really proud of what we were able to discuss today. So I really hope this was able to encourage our students. I know we had one of our music students, Malachi. I wanted to know if he had any questions for Chris, but I know he jumped off. So hopefully we can get all of y'all information and our students are able to contact you all with any questions they have, because I know that'll be super helpful for the ones who were shy and didn't want to ask their questions. But I feel this was really great. So I do want to thank y'all for jumping on and talking to our students, because I know this was something super, something they needed. So thank y'all. Yeah, Malachi, we will share his information with you.
All right, so without further ado, this meeting is going ahead and dismiss. And thank you again once to our panels. Thank you for the students for coming out, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. Everybody enjoyed their weekend, and see y'all on the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.